Hello and welcome to today's lesson. To get access to our starter pack files such as blueprints, technical primer PDFs, native CAD files, as well as exclusive master courses, join our community on Patreon at patreon.com/ArielCad3D. You'll find the link in the description below. In this lesson, we're going to design the front U-bolts. But first, I want to congratulate everybody who has made it this far. If you have watched the tutorials from lesson 1 to this lesson, honestly, you are a very committed learner and I just want to commend you for your work. If you want to be proficient in CATIA, if you want to create impressive things in 3D modeling or something, you have to be comfortable with doing the boring parts. And that's why when I was designing this part, I started with the chassis, because some people, they want to learn CATIA, they want to come here and create impressive things, design aircraft, design cars, but they expect to do it, to just do the fun parts and just find themselves being proficient in CATIA. But if you want to learn any skill, not just 3D modeling, the trick is to be consistent and also to practice repetition, doing the same thing over and over again. If you have followed through these tutorial lessons, you will notice that you have used the part design workbench a lot. You have used it over and over again. You've created countless pads and pockets and shafts. And by now, if you are a beginner when you are starting these lessons, you are now comfortable with a majority of the tools. You know where they are located, in the toolbar, in the menus. And that is the trick. You don't even know when you're gaining these skills. You just find yourself doing things easier. And another second point that I would like to, give you is to be comfortable with making mistakes. If you have followed through, you have seen us making corrections. This is the reality of being an engineer. You need to be comfortable with trying out things. You just don't need a perfect lesson that is taking you through the design process, but the way you've been listening to me, trying to solve a problem, I get to some point, I get an issue and I try to find a workaround. That is how you learn. And this is why I make these tutorials. I make it for the few people who truly want to be good designers. You want to know the thought process. You are not in haste. You are following through a tutorial. And if you have committed yourself from lesson 1 to this lesson, those are a lot of lessons, then I just want to commend you and say, I hope that you gain a lot of skills. I hope this repetition makes you to be a great designer, because that is the trick. There is no magic. There is no 20 minutes from beginner to proficient CATIA lesson. There's none of that. You learn by creating these minute things, and there's a there's a reason why I started with this, because it's very tedious. So it shows who is committed and who is not. When we get to creating these bodies, a lot of people will join in and they just want to know how to create this body and create an impressive maybe object here, take some pictures, post it, but they will not gain any valuable skills. The people who will spend a lot of their time learning how to create these chassis will gain valuable information about the automotive design industry. And if you have followed me on Patreon and maybe you've joined any membership, you'll find there's a lot of information that comes with it. In those technical primers, you're learning, true learning, not just any impressive video that will capture views on YouTube. So I'm very happy to see that there are a few people who are very committed to learning and going through the tutorials, sending me emails, sending me comments. They are very encouraging. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to wish you all the best. Now in this lesson, in our previous lesson, we created this U-bolt, so you're already familiar with the process. We started with publishing some sketches to show us the limits and also to constrain our new geometry in such a way that if we make any changes to our previous parts, then our new part is going to respond accordingly. So that will be the case for the front section. So we can count this lesson as a practice lesson rather than learning a new skill. You're practicing what you've already learned, and we will start once again by publishing the sketches that we used to create our first block of the leaf springs, so that we can get the top limit right here. Or alternatively, you can use this solid I-beam, because with a solid I-beam you already have this top section using the hole that you created. And this one is going to be very easy. As a matter of fact, let's just go straight to the solid I-beam axle, because for most traditional cars, the front U-bolts are directly hooked into this solid axle. So we've got two holes right here. We're going to attach two geometry here where those U-bolts are going to slide in, and then they are going to be locked at the bottom. All right. So I went into the solid I-beam, and I'm going to define this as in work object. And it's just very simple. I'm going to create two geometry here. So where do I sketch? We had an axis system. I'm going to hide this painting gallery because we are not using the blueprint. I want to show the axis system so I see which one I can use. That is axis system 1 and axis system 2. Where is it? Oh, it's in the rear. It's in the rear. I don't need that, so I can hide it. So axis system 1, we know it splits through this section in half. So you can create one on this side and mirror it on the other side, and you can clearly see that if you go to the top view or the top sectional view. It's cutting right through the middle. So I'm going to sketch on the XY plane. We want to create the attachments for the U-bolts. It's taking some time, that's okay. All right. And to know the limits, perhaps I can just take this edge and project it. Like that. And I just need very simple geometry. Let me start with a circle, a small circle here. And I know, let's go to standard element. We used 5mm diameter for the other U-bolts, so we're going to do the same here. That is 2.5 in radius. So the diameter is 5. So as you can see, it's very minute. I'm gonna place it there. I'm gonna give it a distance from the edge. I don't want it to be very far. I only need a clearance of about 2 to 5mm. Why does that seem like it's sorry. So 2mm plus 2.5, that is 4.5. As a matter of fact, let's make it 5. Sorry. So we've got 2.5 plus 2.5. So we've got a clearance of 2.5. Then all you need to do is use a line that is tangent to the circle, like that. Create an axis here, make it horizontal, and then we're going to mirror that line like so. Pardon, that is actually the inner circle. We need the outer one. That is the inner circle. So if this is 5, then we can make this, I don't know, plus 2. We can make it 10 or 9. See? No, not 20. We can make it 10. And I'm going to add this to 7, perhaps like that. And then do the line now. Tangent line touching this. Another tangent line here, or you can mirror it. Make sure it's horizontal. Let me zoom in. So horizontal, and touches that. It should be tangent. See? Then we are going to trim off like that. Very, very simple. Or we need to close our sketch. So all the sketching kind of gives you an experience. You do something over and over and over again, you learn different ways of doing the same thing. So we're going to make them 2. And let me go back to the sketch real quick, because okay, I've created this, but I want it to not collide with this wall. But because I'm here, I'm going to select this edge. See that edge, and define the distance between the edge and this line. See this distance, and you can say maybe 2 clearance. Going to delete that and instead make another line. I think it was constrained to the point like that. So it is 2 millimeter from this side, and then we need to mirror it to the other side. So we know this was it 30? I need to know the distance between this edge and this edge. It's 30, right? Therefore, I can create an axis that is 32. We've got that is 15 plus 2, that is 17, right? Or you can create another axis here, which I don't need to create. The distance between this axis and this line is going to be 15 plus 2, which is 17. That's in the middle. And then I can select my geometry. This line should be trimmed like so. Can select the geometry, and mirror it using this axis. So I have another one on that section. Then exit, and I can create a pad. I'm gonna use planes. Up to plane. I'm going to create a plane. offset it from the XY plane, offset it downwards. I'm gonna use the front view so I can see. Offset it. Let me move it here for reference. So I'm going to place this right where I want maybe that geometry to be. Let's say I want it up to about that point, about negative 110, right? And then the second one is going to be up to plane, and I will create another plane, offset it from the new plane, and give it now the thickness. So let's say I make it 10, which is very thick actually, but it's fine. Let's say I make it 10 millimeters. So that's a way to define the thickness. So now we've got two attachments. Two attachments for the U-bolts, and you can mirror them on the other side by just selecting part 4. And because I'm going to mirror them on this side, let me not use mirror at this point. Instead, I'm going to mirror the sketch in the GSD workbench. You have to think ahead. If you're going to mirror this component again, you can't mirror once and then second time. It doesn't work like that. So instead, we are going to mirror the sketch. As a matter of fact, let's use a different method. Let's sketch the XY plane. Select XY. Sketch again instead. Reframe on it. Okay. And we're going to select sketch 6. Project. We've projected it, and then we're going to mirror using this. Okay. Then I'm going to highlight this and make it a construction element, like so. So if we make changes to the initial sketch, then it's going to reflect on these sketches. And once again, we're going to create a pad. Up to plane, select this plane. Next, up to plane, select this plane. Select OK. Now we've got attachments on both sides, and now we can select pad 4 and pad 5 and mirror them using the ZX plane. Easy, right? And now that you have that, let's hide this sketch. Now that you have that, you just need, gonna hide these two planes as well. You just need the U-bolt. So where do we create the U-bolt? We create the U-bolt in the U-bolt part. Yeah, we're just going to merge them together. We're not going to have front and rear. We're going to have them all together, and we'll just create a new body. Insert a new body, and perhaps we can name this. We can name this the front U-bolt, so that it's distinguishable from the previous one. Like so. So we already said we just need a profile and a guide curve. So for the profile, I'm going to create a point, or I can create it while creating the axis system. Create an axis system. The origin is a point, which is the center of a sphere. You can select this. It's fine. I'm going to select the default like that. I'm not going to make it current. I'm going to hide the point. Then we're going to sketch its XY plane. Then create the circular profile, which is 5 millimeter in diameter. That's the profile. Then we need the guide curve. So we're going to sketch the XY plane. So we already know it's passing through the center, so it's even simpler than what we had before. So we create a profile. And like that. And it goes somewhere here in the middle, which we said the axis. Gonna create an axis. Make sure it's vertical and the distance is 17, right? Was it 17 from the center, or was it 17 from the edge? It was 17 from the edge, right? So it was 17 from the edge. I'm going to delete this, and it's 17 from the edge. Like that. I'm going to make sure this point is coincident to the axis. Okay. Then for this top part, now we are in the U-bolt section. Perhaps I can measure the distance, but if I were to make any edits, I will have to come and change this distance later on. But for now, I'm just going to measure the distance between the edge here. Don't know if we'll be able to. Yeah, I can measure between this edge. No. Very hard to select the other bodies. But I'm going to give it. I'm going to define this distance here. See that? And then first exit and measure between. I want an edge. It's very hard to define. Or let me maybe try the distance between that edge and that axis. Couldn't calculate. What about the point? Point and edge. That's not correct. Measure between this face and this plane. Okay, just a sec. I think we are better off projecting this block curve, which is in the leaf springs. lift blocks. Okay, this is part 18, sketch 1. Sorry. I might have to go into that, double click. I want to show this sketch and then publish it. Publication, this much easier than all the hassle. Okay, copy. I'm actually gonna hide it. Let's see, come to U-bolt, paste it as a result with link, then come back to U-bolt and show it. Then I'm gonna go back to my sketch by double clicking on it, and instead let me delete this. So there's a width of 5 millimeters, so that is 2.5. You want a distance of 2.5 from your surface, right? So I'm going to define the distance between these two. Let me try that again. Okay, I don't need an angle, so I'm going to project this line. That's not right. Oh, I see. That's because, okay, undo that. That's because this line is not it's not straight, like it's slanted. That's why we were getting that. So instead of projecting, you're going to intersect 3D elements, and basically you want to intersect this line with your plane, the one that you're sketching in, right? That is the XY, no, the ZY. You want to intersect this plane with this line, so you get that point. You want the distance at specifically this point, okay? And then you can use that to define the distance here to be 2.5, or maybe you can add a tolerance of 1 millimeter, so we have 2.6 or 2.55. So you're only allowing that radius and a little bit of an allowance, okay? So we've defined that is 2.6. The next thing you can define is the angle, the corner, not the angle, but the corner right here. We do that as a standard element exit. Supposed to exit, okay. Standard mode, create a corner. Just make sure there is enough clearance for the radius to run through without touching that point. So this is about 6.5. Let's standardize it like that. See, that's fine. And now we can just take our sketch, which is very simple, mirror it to this side, so we have a complete guide curve. Exit. Hopefully there are no mistakes. We are in the front U-bolt. Make sure you check that as in work object. Then you're going to create a rib. Select the circular profile. Select this as your guide curve. Remember what I told you about pulling direction. For example, you can use this X axis as your pulling direction. That's the H direction. and you're going to have a uniform U-bolt. Let me make a prominent, like so. So the allowance that we gave here, I hope you understand that it's for you to be able to secure a nut that you're going to use to close this up. In fact, let's insert a new body and call this front U-bolt nut. Again, you're going to sketch the ZY plane here of the new axis system. You know that the hole is 5 millimeter in diameter, 5 millimeters, and the outer body can be, we are working with polygons. Let's give it we just want to make sure that we have enough clearance at this section. We can give it 5 because I believe we made it 7. Sorry, we had 7 from the edge, so we can give this 5, but 5 seems too large. I don't know why. Perhaps 4. Okay, 4. A radius of 4, so we have 8 millimeter diameter. So a pad, the first limit is going to be a plane, one of those planes that we created here. I believe it was the first one, plane 1. Plane 1 is at the bottom, and the second, let's reverse the direction. No, it should be plane 2 then. Plane 2. Second is dimension. I was right. It was supposed to be plane 1. The second is dimension. So limit 2. This doesn't make any sense. We created 2 planes, plane 1 and plane 2. Let me show plane 1. Hide show. Okay, plane 2. Hide show. Where are these planes? Are these not the planes that we just created? Hold on, cancel. Plane 1. Where is it? Reframe on. What? We've got a rib. Ah, I see. I apologize. We created plane 1. Okay. We created plane 1 when we were in the solid axle, not in the U-bolt. My bad. Apologies. So those 2 planes that we used to create this were in the U-bolt. But I think I can remember this was 110. If I'm not wrong, that was 110. So we can create a pad. We know this distance is 10 millimeters. So limit 1 is going to be 10 millimeters. This is the profile. Reverse the direction, 10 millimeters, and then limit 2 then can be 15. It can be negative 15 if you want it to be 5 millimeter thick, like that. Hold on. like so. Then this can be a different material so it's visible. And I can hide this, we don't need it. So we've got a U-bolt that is secured. And remember, because we're going to mirror this, whatever we are creating here, we're going to mirror in this side. We might want to create a different sketch here. Let me show pad 3, hide show. So I'm going to sketch the XY plane once again. My geometry is very reactive right now. I'm going to select the XY plane. Is that the XY plane? XY plane. Sketch it again. And I want to create an axis. Axis here. And we said the distance between that axis and this axis is 15 plus 2, which was 17. Then just take your sketch. No, not intersect, but project it. Mirror it. And make the first projection construction element. Did we miscalculate? Oh, 17 is the edge. Let me calculate. We've got 17 is the edge, so we need to account for this thickness. And how much is the thickness from this edge? It's 5 millimeters. So it's 17 plus 5, which gives us 22. Back to the sketch. Did that update? That didn't update. We need it to update. The reason why I'm using the previous one and not just creating a new one is because when I'm making edits, I really want to make edits to just one body or one sketch and then have it mirrored. Okay. That's okay. Then we are saying we are creating a pad 10 and negative 15. Okay. We can mirror this too using this ZY plane. What? Okay. And finally, mirror everything, current solid. using the ZX. Hold on, let me try that once again. Current solid using the ZX. That's good. So let's go back to the U-bolt and mirror it. U-bolt define in work object. Mirror using ZY. Then mirror the entire solid using ZX. Okay. Going to hide this axis system. And that will be it for the front section. We won't do anything more. That will be it. And you can choose to mirror the other objects that we hadn't mirrored. I'm just going to illustrate with one, and then I'm going to leave you up to it. Go to the leaf springs, and you want to go to each and every body that you created here that is not yet mirrored to the other side, and you're going to mirror it. For example, if the fixed bracket is not mirrored, you just make it the current work object, select mirror, and you're using this ZX plane or just the general ZX plane, and select OK. Got the fixed bracket. You're going to do the same for all these features that we created in the leaf springs. For the rear section as well, going to do the same, so that everything that we have on the right side is going to be mirrored on the left side. And I will see you in our next lesson, where we're going to assemble the friction dampers for the front section. So the front section is easier because you only have one. So you're creating an attachment here, and just assembling one of it. Okay, so congratulations on making it this far. I will see you in the next lesson.